guess what, Jennifer?
Tell us, Dave.
It's Tuesday. It is Tuesday, and we are in the process of packing and moving and having a good time and doing our show. So welcome everybody to another episode of Building Modular with
Jennifer Cooper
and Dave Cooper. So listen, everybody, if you're just joining us, we appreciate you being here. We are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests and topics include experts in building systems, to building science, to building codes, all the way to building tech used to build it better. And today's no different. Well, it's a little different today. Kind of got a short show, but we got an important topic to cover.
Well, every topic's important, right, Dave?
Well, in my world, yes. In my world, everything is important when it's important. So with that said, we're gearing up for our road show, everybody. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We are really going to be hitting the road soon, moving out of the house. We're hoping some of you can come with us along our journey. We're having great conversations with great people. And if you are interested in being part of this journey, please do not hesitate to reach out to us.
Definitely. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you could give us a like or a share or a love, that would be wonderful. Really, what we're trying to do each week is help bring together a community, help bring, the questions, some answers, some experiences along the way, not just how to build using modular construction, but today is a little bit different because this is for any builder, really.
It is for any builder. Last week we were with Benson Wood up on in Unity Homes doing the panelized build. The concepts and the processes are really the same. Hey, I'm just noticing I'm like really flashing here, huh? Doesn't look like it's flashing.
Gosh, you are flashing.
I am flashing.
Oh my god.
We'll make it red. Red doesn't flash as much. Yeah, I'll sweat to death. Hey, this is my new heated vest. I got tired of being cold out in the field, so now I got a heated vest. It's kind of fun. I'm trying it out today, but I was just outside and it's like 25, 30 degrees here.
It's definitely cold out. I mean, this is the thing, right? It's all about wearable technology, heated vests, heated socks. They've been around a long time, but there's so much tech, now. If you're looking for a really great holiday gift for some of the people that work out in the field, this is definitely a good one.
It is a good one for sure to put it underneath something. It is toasty warm. Even the neck gets warm in the pockets. All right, Jennifer, they're not here to talk about all the stuff I waste my money on. Let's get into what our topic is today. So you came up with today's topic. So why don't you do the introduction on it?
Yeah, so last week we were talking about construction contingencies.
We were trying to.
Right? I know. We bumped into every type of hurdle you could imagine in last week's show. Technology isn't always our friend. But that's okay. What we wanted to do is pick up on that thread, right? We were talking about what are some of the things that you can't predict for and should definitely include in your contract language. Why should you put contingency pricing into your remodeling contract, new home construction contract, commercial bid? Why should you put contingencies in there? And the second part of that was how offsite construction helps you offset some of that need for contingencies, because it's a really terrific way to de-risk your project by using predictable methods of construction built offsite.
That's right.
Lessens your time on site, lessens your inclination to possibly bump into some things like poor weather or
lumber surcharges, right? All the things that we're faced with today. But no, you're absolutely right. Having contingencies in your projects and in your contract is going to be super, super vital. And we're going to talk about 3 of them today.
Yeah.
Was it 3? It was 3, right?
So there's 3 things that we definitely think if you're a new home builder, commercial builder, remodeler, these are things that, after you've covered all of the basics, you've reviewed it with your legal advisor, you've reviewed it with your accountant, you've gotten all of the necessities in that construction agreement. Yep. What are some things that perhaps you haven't considered and should include in every deal that you sign?
What are they?
Well, the first thing that I would start with, again, it's a little bit of a language game, right? We're talking about construction contracts, right, but we strongly recommend that when you're presenting this to a customer that you call it an agreement, right? That's a little bit of a sales.
Well, play on words, right? It's an agreement. It's an investment in your property or your home. Get away from saying quotes and contracts. Use terms that mean something to somebody that's getting ready to put hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into a project. Make them feel good about it, because it is an investment. Yeah. And it is a contract. It is a contract, but it's more of an agreement to get them to where they want to go for their investment.
Right. So the first thing that we're saying, or that we're recommending you include in this agreement or in this contract, isn't anything new. We've talked about this ad nauseum with the lumber surcharges, with the material shortages that were being experienced at the onset of the pandemic, and some even now. Some even now there's shortages of material or supply chain interruption. Really, you should put some of these contingencies into your contract and talk about them in advance, because the hope is to go into this project or this build and not hit any of these hurdles. But it's so much easier to have that conversation up front.
That's right.
Before you're faced with making major decisions under pressure because something came up, something was a surprise. Put it in the contract now. Talk about it now. Yep. Make sure your clients understand it now, that if lumber does go up again, like it did, I think close to 120% at one point.
But those tariffs are coming down now, so that's a good thing.
That's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we see a spike like this again, who's going to pay for that? How does that cost get?
Is it the builder? Is it the customer? Is it the lumber yard? Is it the manufacturer? They're only going to eat so much of that cost, right? And unfortunately, if you have contingency clauses in there, then that is something that you can work out with the consumer or whoever the product, who's paying for your services is.
Definitely. So that's number one. So getting that contingency in there for lumber surcharges, supply interruption or supply chain failure where the goods just aren't coming anymore, or maybe an item was discontinued, something of that nature. Maybe a big ticket item within the home or within the project is no longer available.
Right.
Not just that it's on back order, but it's not being produced anymore. Put some of this language into your contract with the hopes of not having to need it or use it, but just get in front of it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's kind of like buying a snow thrower for the winter, right? If you buy the snow thrower, it is guaranteed not to snow. So you have this great new snow thrower and you want to use it. Come on, who else has experienced that? You go out, you buy something, and then you don't even use it because it just doesn't happen. Yeah. It's kind of that same thought. You want to be prepared regardless of what it is. All right, moving forward, Jennifer. Adverse weather conditions.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with offsite construction. Your time on site is limited, but something could happen. I mean, we've experienced this a couple of times where major storms have taken out power for days, if not weeks, where everybody's scrambling in the end.
When the hurricanes come up the coast and, along the Gulf and in other places. But yeah, 100%. Adverse weather conditions. Here's the deal. Everybody's pumped, man. They're ready to go. They're like, man, we're going to start building. It's going to get done. And half the time is site construction. And then weather delay. But yet the customer still expects you to finish at the same date.
Right.
These are expectations that need to be had and need to be constantly talked about.
Yeah. And so this is something too to keep in mind if you're building using offsite construction. You have two locations to worry about. You have the location where the build is, the site, and then you have the location of where the manufacturing happens. Now, That's right. Good news is that so many of these obviously are being built indoors in a controlled environment, very precise conditions, but they bump into issues as well. So there could be an instance where your factory loses power and they could be 3 or 4 or possibly even 5 hours away. And your clients are saying, what do you mean? Everything's fine here.
Okay. See, now you hit a sore spot. Connecticut, we were still open for business during construction when COVID hit. Pennsylvania, all the manufacturers got shut down. The consumer, the customer on this end, really had a hard time understanding why their project was getting delayed because it wasn't stopping here.
Right.
So that's a prime example of something that's completely out of your control that we need to pay attention to. And you need to have the conversations with the customers. I mean, nobody wants to enforce a contract or an agreement, if we're going to call it an agreement. Nobody wants to enforce it. But man, it sure is good if it's in there.
Yeah, I mean, something that somebody used to say to us all the time was when there's a disagreement, the first thing that everybody reaches for
is the paperwork. Always, 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 always. Yep.
Right.
And this gets into my favorite subjects, checklists, and coordination, because with the paperwork, with a process, right? What I love so much about what we always have done is we have paperwork and a process, and then we had a campaign that would follow it, reminding them all the time, hey, remember we talked, just this is what's going on. This is what's happening this week. Oh, this falls into this category. Hey, looks like bad weather next week. This could delay our project by a few days, Having things in place like this make a big deal.
Definitely. And knowing, so not only is it helpful because it's in the paperwork, it's helpful for you and your team because you know what course of actions to take should something happen.
Right.
And you've already thought about that. You've planned for, you work towards success, but you plan for interruptions.
That's
you
right.
plan for, again, those bumps along the road so that when they do come, you're ready.
100%. 100%. Well, here's another big one, right? Is unknown site conditions, right? I'm going to just jump to that one. Mm-hmm. So unknown site conditions. Last week was a prime example. We tried talking about it. Our connection wasn't so good where we were at, but it's beautiful. Weather's beautiful. And then it just became a storm. I'll just say it. It was a shit show. The rain just kept coming and coming and coming. And it turned a beautiful project into a mucky mess. Even pulling off the cut-in for the road. If you got off, you're stuck in the mud. So unknown site conditions. These things happen, and you're not taking an entire property with offsite construction and prepping it just in case it rains. It gets too expensive. Right. So these are things that can cause delay, slow up the project, slow the trucks coming in and out, slow the crane, and also the amount of mud and stuff that we don't want it tracking in our homes. We don't want it tracking onto the concrete slab. Things slow up. So this is also an unknown site condition that comes up because of not necessarily a natural disaster, but it's natural.
Right. So, not necessarily a natural disaster, but if you think about unknown site conditions, going back to that for a minute, Dave, what are some things that we've experienced in terms of unknown site conditions? I mean, things like sewer lines, power, it's budgeted for overhead power, and then all of a sudden it's underground power.
Okay. My famous pool story. I always wanted a pool. Never still to this day. I don't have a pool. I want a pool, but we were doing a job and and this was a big house. You remember this house in Jersey? We got all the way through the excavation. It was a 4,000 square foot home. In the far back corner of this property, we hit an underground stream. And by the next morning, I had 12 feet of water in the foundation. You think that was horrible. And guess what I didn't have? I didn't have any contingency clause in there with the homeowner. It's an unknown. Yeah, who would have thought? But it was a big engineering feat because not only did that underground stream fill the hole, it was tied to a natural trout stream. And now it became an environmental issue. Right. And it became a very costly thing for us to divert that and rework how it goes back into the natural flow of the ground. For this project. So there you go. That's an what do you call it?
Yeah.
Unknown.
Exactly. And so, again, everybody is always talking about cost per square foot. How much do you charge cost per square foot? Yeah. What is this contract going to be? The bottom line is you need to plan for some of these oops moments, either, getting it down on paper and very just specifically saying, let's set this money aside, because what if you have to shore up the foundation of the people next door who may be a little bit above grade than you are, and you're building in a high density location.
You're reminding me of another one.
That's something we've bumped into. Underground water, that's something that we've bumped into. Coastal area management issues, that's something we've bumped into. And you can't plan for everything, but I see a comment in there somewhere saying that, nobody invites Murphy to the party, but he always wants to come.
I know. Hey, Will Brennan, good points. Murphy's Law will strike the most inopportune time. Brennan, that's funny that last name just popped up, because I think that was the name of the customer with the swimming pool it filled in. So, hey, listen, you're absolutely right. It will pop up. And the other thing, like you were saying, Jen, if you're doing infill projects and you're filling you're building within urban environments or what have you. And you go to dig your excavation and you find out the house next to you only did a small footer, older house, older properties. This was in the city. We were doing in what was it? Jersey City, I think. In Union City. And it was just tight. Well, here we excavated and then realized we're undermining the entire foundation to the right of us because you don't know until you get into it. And it was on a hill. The whole thing, it worked out fine, but we had to do a whole gunite wall. Concrete wall. And these are things you learn from experience, right? And this is going back into our early days of doing this. But these are the unknowns. You don't really know what's going on with with the properties to the left, to the right of you. And you definitely don't know if you got trout swimming under your property.
No, for sure. And you know what? This is what I miss about builder blends and builder networking and getting together and having a few drinks with some other builders in the area, because you know what? Nobody really wants to share the stories, the mistakes,
That's right.
and we're kind of putting it out there for everybody so that you can learn from some of the things we've either heard about or experienced firsthand. And that way you don't have to bump into them yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. That's what this show's all about. Sharing. But you know what's really cool? Dr. Amar would like a jacket like this one for the Scottish weather. It's cold. Remember, we went to Scotland for a wedding.
We were there.
We were in Scotland for a wedding a few years back.
Beautiful, but cold.
It was cold. It was cold. My wife and I, we were tangoing at the dance over there. We're not going to get into that story.
We're not going to get into that story.
All right. We won't get into that. Next time we're in Scotland, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, right.
All right. Love it. Let's give a couple shout outs here. What's up, Mr. Coronado? Best banker in the world right there.
Yeah. And you know what?
Biggest hat too.
It's funny. As we were putting the show notes together, I was thinking about you because as, from a financial standpoint, as we're building some of these contingencies into the budget, obviously you should talk to your banker, to your lender, how that happens and how it all comes together, because you need to make sure that the money is secured so that when something does happen, the homeowners, it needs to come from somewhere.
It does need to come from somewhere for sure. Oh, look at this. Hey, Steve Schrader, what is happening, man? What about human error translation from blueprints to shop or site? Now, there's two ways of looking at this, right? This is where having a great relationship with your manufacturer is awesome, right? And it's also can be your biggest nightmare, right? And this also comes back to working with manufacturers that are truly using digital twin technology, so everything matches on paper when you place an order, right? And you're looking at me, am I going down the wrong path here?
You totally are. I mean, it just reminds me of the show.
I am going down the wrong path? Is that what you just said?
No, you're spot on. You're spot on. But remember, who did we have on from Box Prefab? The architects.
Yep. Yeah. Well, go ahead. You guys something to say. I mean, hey.
How they went from being architects of traditional site-built construction and moved into volumetric modular construction and really had to think about those shop drawings, Steve, because you're exactly right. They couldn't leave anything to chance because now they were not only the designers and the architects of record, they were also the factory owners who had to build from that set of plans. Yeah. So now for sure. I mean, I'm positive they were doing this before, but they are definitely making sure that build set is truly a construction set that you can build from.
Yeah. One of the common arguments that always happens in this space, whether it's panelized or modular, is the modular manufacturers want you as the builder to sign off on their plans. And I'm assuming it's the same in most panelized places that I've seen as well. But here's the caveat. Then as a builder, you say, well, listen, I'm the customer. I'm telling you what I want. Why am I signing off on your plans? Here's what I wanted. Make sure it's in your system right. So, but this is part of having that digital twin and being able to do 3D walkthroughs and being able to truly understand the plans. And then again, pre-construction meetings where you sit down with the manufacturer. We did this all the time with trades too, not just you as the builder, the electrician, the plumber, because they all like to gripe on site on how something wasn't done the way they would have done it, X, Y, Z. That's how you have successful projects in offsite construction. It's all about the 5 Ps, right?
I'll let you say what the 5 Ps are.
I'm not going to say the 5 Ps. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance, right? So, but that's really what it is. So that's a great comment, Steve Schrader. I'm gonna put him up there one more time. I like Steve, by the way.
I know. And Steve, I mean, from an automation standpoint too, right? How are those machines, how are we going to automate our process unless we have drawings that are really correct? And, in terms of the human error translation, if you're building off site, and again, there's a question or a concern, you address it. It's typically, if you're building volumetric modular, it's one module that's contained to, hopefully.
For sure.
As opposed to a total job site when you're building, traditionally on site.
Yeah, for sure. And Steve, I mean, you're out there on the front lines. I know you're busy as can be. Steve's with Hundegger, the best Hundegger person out there that I know. He's really the only one I know. But I don't need to know anybody else because I know Steve. So, but I think, you're seeing it, Steve. How much digitization are you starting to see coming into our industry? How much BIM software technology? You guys are seeing it, I'm sure, advance. And also, with that said, do you guys see the suppliers and the machine folks like yourself? We had this conversation at Housing Innovation Alliance event. It was in Baltimore, I believe, talking about how if the suppliers and the machine manufacturers could talk, I think that would be a great conversation. Steve, we should have that conversation on the show. It'd be a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and one of the, we talk about T-shirts and slogans all the time. And one of the ones that floated not too long ago was digitize to industrialize. And Joel Hutchins has definitely taken that and run with it. But it's so true. Like, if we really want to build with precision correctly the first time, forget about the waste, forget about the mistakes. We talked about dumpsters with Eric Holt the other day, and just think about if you were to reduce X number of dollars, X number of material wasted with each build, and you multiply that times how many builds there are in a given year. I mean, it's financially, it's a tremendous number, and from an environmental perspective, it's a tremendous savings as well.
You're right. It is a huge savings, especially if you're a big production builder.
Yeah.
$300 a dumpster times 30,000 homes.
It's a big number.
Adds up fast. Excuse me. All right. Moving on.
So what else do we have? So we talked about
unknown site condition, natural disasters, which kind of falls into unknown site conditions in my world. Having a trout stream run under your foundation is a natural disaster in my book, for my pocketbook too.
Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to avoid for everybody. So what are some other things that you may not be including in your contract that you should definitely consider? You've put the plans in there, you've put all the specs in there. What else? What we should be talking about? Yeah, we can.
Availability of building materials.
That could be an issue. Again, if something was discontinued, what is the chain of command? What if something's discontinued, your clients are away for 3 months on a road show or a trip? What's the contingency plan there? Go ahead.
So availability of building materials. Here's an example on offsite. This just happened with Jay Lepley. We were at the Benson Wood set, and said, Jay, why do you use this specific window manufacturer? And Jay said, well, some of the German companies we love to use as well, but the availability of their product is hard to get. So let's say something gets broken. It happens. Windows get broken in transportation. Trim gets ripped off. You hit a tree. So when it comes to the availability of building materials, you have to really understand what that means. So it could mean two things. One, it could mean there's a shortage in the market, like lumber, or the prices went sky high. Or it means that there's a hefty lead time for these things. Right. And if something goes wrong, the customer has to be aware that it could be weeks and weeks and weeks to get a replacement.
And this happened on another job site we were on early this year, where the windows did come from Germany. They were building to passive house or trying to reach passive house standards. Yeah. And the window that they ordered and the window size that was framed for was off. Remember? So they were faced with the decision: do we order a replacement window, or do we reframe the window opening? Yeah. And because the window lead time would take so long, they actually reframed the size of the opening.
Yeah, and that goes back to a tried and true manufacturer, old school sawdust factory type approach, where they're still using basic CAD software. They're not using BIM. They haven't made that change. But that's the problems that happen. But that's a lot of the industry still, especially in the modular side. So with that said, you're absolutely right. That costs a lot of money just to deal with that, fix it, not only for the builder, but for the manufacturer. Imagine if you just had BIM or a digital twin where it can all be viewed, because the other side of this all goes, it doesn't translate all the way down to the foundation either.
Right.
Most manufacturers only work from the foundation plate up.
Right.
So I agree with that.
Right. So what else? What else do we have?
Oh, what else do we have? Are you excited to go pack some more, Jen?
I know, right? This is a welcome break to be with all of you, actually.
Excuse me.
Safety provisions.
Yeah.
So again, if you we talked about only adding 3 things into our contracts, but this is definitely one of the biggest ones, especially now, regardless of the pandemic, regardless of everything that's going on. Clearly let your clients know when they are allowed on the job site, what is required of them before they can enter the job site in terms of PPE, and, does somebody from your team need to be there with them?
Right.
It's still a safety issue.
So, well, there's a safety issue and a cost value issue here, because not all customers are created equal, right? Some customers you never have an issue with, but here's what happens, right? You have, I know on our job sites, you don't ever want to stop the customer. It's their project. They should be able to come and look at it anytime they want. It's just a matter of setting some rules so we understand what it is, because I would have clients show up at a job site all the time and they'd start talking to the plumber and electrician, asking for change orders, ... And all of a sudden I lose an hour with the electrician. My plumber lost an hour and I get a bill because now they're behind because the customer was there asking for all these things. Have some provisions in there. You got to make sure that the guides and the rules are set. So when somebody comes on site, they have one point of contact. They don't interrupt other people. And they definitely don't say, hey, can I borrow a tool? Because that's another thing that you're doing it as long as we've done it. Right? It all happens. So, but that's not the majority of people, but people do it.
Yeah.
Especially when they spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of dollars with you, you're a builder. They own you. That's what they think in their mind, right? So you need to establish the clear rules of engagement.
Absolutely. And we're going into this assuming that everybody is following safety guidelines and keeping their job site safe and neat and tidy. But definitely for families with young children or families who have a tendency to, like Dave described, pull people away or distract people from their jobs. These are all things that hit your bottom line for sure.
Yeah.
So clearly articulate what your rules are around when people can come visit the job site, and what PPE is available for them, once they're there.
For sure.
Same thing. I mean, we had one project where somebody came in with their interior designer who then started moving things around. It can be very challenging. It is their home. It is their project, but, it's about safety and keeping the job rolling.
Yeah, it is about safety, not just with the owner of the project, whether it's a developer or a consumer, like a homeowner, but also with the trades. Having very specific guidelines on how they clean up, what they do, make sure their extension cords are rolled up, right? If let's say the framer didn't put up any bracing around the, open foyer of the stairwell, and another trade falls off there. Everybody on that job site is liable according to OSHA standards, as far as I understand it, because it's everybody's responsibility to make sure safety happens. But guess who really gets the brunt of that? Right? You, the developer, or you, the builder. So safety is a big deal, not just with the consumer, but also with the trades.
Yeah.
Clean. Got to have a clean job site, man.
Yeah, clean and safe.
If I go to more job sites that aren't clean, maybe it'll help my hair grow. Steam would come out. All right.
Oh my gosh.
I know it. Getting old. I need a head of hair like Steve Schrader. Did you see his head of hair?
I know. He's
in the mountain man thing he had going during COVID. Right. All right. Moving forward. All right. Last subject. Well, almost the last subject. Marketing and release.
Yeah. So this is the 3 of our big 3 things that you really need to include in every single new construction or remodeling agreement, because this is your golden ticket, right? This is how you will sell new jobs. This is your showcase, right? This is your model home. This is hopefully, everything is organized enough and you are either taking photos or broadcasting videos or using this as a selling tool as you market your next job, and anytime the client says something positive or sends you an email saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe XYZ, you want to make sure that you're able to use that again in the future, either as a testimonial on your website, in an email campaign, in a Facebook post. So definitely include a marketing clause in your new construction contract.
Yeah, 100%. This is, if we look about how we got started in doing the video, right? We were just walking around our homes doing videos, but we had to get permission from all the clients to do this. As this grew and people started walking in the door saying, hey, you're the guy on TV, or you're the guy on YouTube. My wife loved XYZ of this house, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden you realize the value of it. And I think that's what people have to understand. As a builder, as a general contractor, you are a destination business. People very rarely are driving around going to model home centers all over the place. They're not. They're sitting at home on their time researching you. Don't get eliminated. That's the key. And that's why these marketing things are so important today, more than ever, because you're competing with everybody else out there online. So if you don't have a presence, guess what? You're not going to be there next year and the year after. You got to have a presence.
Yeah. And, this goes hand in hand with really encouraging your clients to be forthcoming with glowing reviews and glowing accolades, not just for you. I mean, it's not just for you. Even if they say something about somebody that you work with.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe, how amazing our banker was during the process. You can share that because that's your banker too, right? That person helped both parties come to the table. If your homeowner says something about the HVAC contractor, or even how clean and tidy the job site is, anything that could be looked at as a +1, you want to share that with your community, because Dave's right. When people are looking online and they see not one, not two, not three, but dozens of accolades, little quotes here and there, preferably next to a snapshot of something interesting. That is your calling card for the future. That's how you win new jobs. That's how, you say it all the time on your soapbox. If you're not repeat business, right? You're a startup every day.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, that's it. If you do not have repeat customers, you're a startup every day. That could be referrals, but we have customers that, third, fourth home that we've worked on. So first time home, family home, summer home, empty nester home,
cousin's home, son and daughter's home,
referrals.
I mean, it's really, let these people be your marketing agents, and make sure you put that in advance, put that in your contract, that you will use photos from the home, that you might reproduce something that they say, that you might host an open house. There's a successful builder local to where we are who puts that in every contract, that at the end of the job, they host an open house prior to handing over the keys.
They always get more work from it. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's fresh and new. It's like having a parade of homes every month, essentially, showcasing. And each home is different, so that the local community gets to see what, the range of product that the builder offers. So include this in your contracts, put it in front. There are times, there's highs and lows, there's a bell curve with every client journey. So if you put that out there in the beginning, by the end, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies out there that say, oh, my customer will love me. They'll love me even more. They're going to hate me, and then hopefully they're going to love you again. It's just part of the journey. It's a stressful experience. So, all right, Steve Schrader, even builders that do not have machine technology have 3D technology. It's very true.
It is. It is.
It's out there. You can have it and not spend a lot of money.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see what Will Brennan has to say. Share the 3D data. Manufacturing plant using these tools at the outset can save time, as well as avoid having contractors cut into machines or trip over each other, tying it all together at the end. 120%. Is that possible? 120?
Yeah. And what, it's so funny because think about it, back in the day when people were building post and beam construction, everything was measured, everything was cut, down to, the precise measurement, and then brought on site. So this really isn't anything new.
You're right.
It's just a new application for it all. It's a new way of bringing it all together. So that's a great point. Thank you.
It is. Will, coming to us from YouTube today. Love it. All right, Dwayne Marney, residential builder. What's happening, Dwayne? Right OD rescission is a must, right? Recession. I think is what he's saying, right? Am I
Yeah.
losing my mind?
No, I think, contingency plans and everything else that we're talking about,
Yeah.
I'm going to take that as a right on. So thank you, Dwayne.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Dwayne types like me.
I know.
I am the
right?
worst. Even today, I'm writing something and I think I did a great job. I say, hey, Jen, check this. And all of a sudden, and I'm like, you know what? This is why I don't write. My confidence is done. I'm over.
Please.
Video's where it's at.
Yeah. Well, that's why you do the video. I do the behind the scenes stuff. Video's not my thing.
I love it. All right, everybody. So we got a lot of great things coming up as well, to include the road trip, as you see below. Let's talk about it, Jen. Where are we going? What are we doing?
Yeah. So, this is going to be a lot of fun, and we're excited
A ton of fun.
Yeah, we're excited to really showcase some of the things that are happening out there, not just like, crazy innovative things, but people who are just doing a great job and building great homes and building great projects and building healthy, energy efficient homes to a higher level, to a better code. We're just so excited to share all of these stories, the products, the process, the people that are making it happen, because we need to celebrate them and we need them to lead by example. We need them to show others that it's not so hard.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We're going to go out there. We're going to bring the world to you since we're all stuck at home. We're going to go to places that use Steve Schrader's products. We are. We're going to be all over this country and maybe even into Canada and some others. I think we'll go up there when it warms up a little bit.
I just found my snowboard.
Even though I have my heated vest on. Check it out.
I'm
getting a little cold. I better turn it up to hot.
All right.
All right. So, hey, there you go. Dwayne, he's laughing. Right of rescission. Yes. LOL.
There we go.
Got it. Hey, we're doing this on the fly, man. We're trying to keep up with you, Dwayne. I love it.
I
love it. All right. So what else do we have coming on? So we have a road show coming up. So we're always looking for people to help support that. Thursday on Increasing Influence. We have Kristen Swarchek coming on, award-winning executive advisor, wellness coach, and change management consultant.
Yeah. One thing that we've learned in our journey in these last few months is that change is definitely a 4-letter word. It's very hard to change, especially when there's a huge price tag attached to it. So it'll be great to get Kristen on and see what she has to say on how to change your mindset and incorporate change and be an agent of change, because it really does look better on the other side. It might be scary, but definitely, improving innovation, research and development, not only in your business, but also on yourself. Kristen's going to be a good conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then Friday on BS Friday, we have physics, biology, and chemistry with Grace and Corbett Lunsford. Now, they have their own TV show, first of all. They've been traveling this country, kind of like we're going to do, in a tiny home.
With 2 kids.
And had a baby doing this on the road. But yeah, Friday's going to be a big show. They got a huge following. They travel basically the country helping homeowners fix problems in their house. Help them understand why their homes are making them sick or just fix problems.
Yeah. So I'm super excited for this show because we talk about the resiliency and durability of offsite construction, specifically modular, volumetric, and panelized construction, how durable those structures are.
Right.
And Corbett is known for doing the hurricane test on these houses, literally reproducing the effects of a hurricane. I can't wait to chat about that and who wins and who loses in that game.
100%. And then tomorrow's the light day, everybody. Tomorrow's a move day for us. So, we're going to keep it simple this week, but we will be hot back into it next week as we gear up for the road show, starting off probably somewhere in the South.
Yeah.
All right.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. I see we have Chris Campbell, and who else do we have in the audience?
Let's see how many. Give us some likes and shares if you haven't already, please. We got Tom Coronado, Steve Schrader, Farah Pavine, Dr. Amar, Craig Campbell, Andrew Seeley from G-Pod. And hey, Jennifer, you liked it.
I know.
I didn't like it.
Did you mention Farah?
I did. I said Farah Pavine. I said it.
You did. Well, she deserved to be mentioned twice.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Listen, thanks for joining us today. We need to get back to our boxes. And I'm getting really hot. I got to turn that down a little bit. And we're going to see you guys tomorrow at 1:00. And then again, Thursday and Friday. I'm Dave Cooper and
Jennifer Cooper. And thanks so much, everybody. And yes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can include all of you in this great community that we're building. It's been a lot of fun.
Ton of fun. We'll see you next time. Bye now.